So coming to the tail end of this first conversation, where I want to pick up from is that Mahara interaction where we first met, and you first engaged in what I had to deliver, and I started learning about what you've got. And a big part of like as my friend said yesterday, the knowledge and the information, the history. I know what I bring. I know what I attempt to bring, at least, to share. And but at the same time, I meet many people in those spaces that are new to the information. Some are already privy to the information, and are already on their way, on their path. So I was curious to know, because the subject was psychedelics, but I can't remember the actual talk that I was given. Was it the Easter talk? I don't know if I was given the Easter talk. It was around the time I came in Easter, and I came a bit afterwards as well. I came with Kalinde, but it was either the Easter or psychedelics in Africa, which are all pretty much the same talk. I just, spin it in different ways. But
I think it was more to do with Africa and the journey. That, like, I've been to a couple of your talks now, so trying to recollect. But I believe it was more about the journey that, like, came from Bess, and from Bess it came into. I mean, that's what I recall, but it might be that this was already a later talk that I recall better.
Yeah. Either or, that's not the key thing. So thank you for reminding me that I just talk about Bess in every talk. It doesn't matter what talk. That's why you probably remember that.
That's the essence of it, right?
Yeah. Doesn't matter. I could be talking about psychedelics and mental health. Bess is going to be in there, man, because I pledge allegiance to the archetypes, the energies that run through me, around me, and just allow me to do what I'm doing, so to keep their names alive in in the forms that they exist in. But ultimately, the theme was, regardless, the running theme for all of my talks is psychedelics, entheogens, hallucinogens. And what I'm just curious to know, as well as if you're up for sharing, was just at that point when we met, where was you at in your psychedelic journey, if you was on one? And how did the technology, as I refer to it, enter your life? When being in the Netherlands, I know it's a lot more liberal and relaxed around drugs and the usages of, what we were having legal drugs. They were all legal at one point in time where you guys are at. So coming up, when was your introduction to psychedelics? Where was you at? And let's just talk about psychedelics basically and your insights.
So yeah, you always kind of, especially growing up, you always kind of heard about mushrooms. I never really knew what they were. Even in high school, I never really met people who were taking them. But then when I turned 18, I basically got into a quite serious path of devotion towards my spiritual development. So I wasn't really, and within the group that I was doing that, I wasn't really using a lot of substances except marijuana. I was smoking a lot of weed and or hash in longer periods of time. Not all the time, but I mean, I was introduced to using that substance as a way of getting to know myself better and deeper. My teacher used it as a tool, and his wife actually healed herself from asthma smoking that. So for them, it was a very big thing, and they guided us with like almost ceremonies where we would just sit with each other, have some tea and a joint, and I would, like doing it with people who are very much focused and present. You get really confronted with your own mind, and you're like, oh, you get to hear the chatter in your own mind, and it really helped me to get to know myself better from within. Although now I believe that there's also ways of doing it without that. But actually, only years after that, I tried ayahuasca for the first time. This was when I was about 22 years old, I believe. So 6 years ago now, 7 years ago. And this was an interesting experience because I already was quite focused and I had done the work with the marijuana. I went into this experience with the idea that I wasn't going to create anything in my mind, just go somewhere, but I was going to just stay calm and grounded and let the plant speak to me as I heard that it did. So I took the substance. I was in a ceremony with some friends and a shaman, and was in a teepee tent and fire, everything. But surprisingly enough, I didn't really have that the big of a visual experience that some people have. It gave me a sense of ayahuasca makes you purge, physically purging, but also in a sense of energetic purge, like you purging out negativity and emotions and trauma and things like that. Although I wasn't really experiencing that mentally or visually, the next day I did feel like I had something cleared off me. I felt a little bit lighter. But all the others in the group, they're like, no, I saw this, and someone had an ankh with them, and they looked through the eye of the ankh, and they got into this whole world of it's all Egyptian symbols and things like this. Okay, that's cool. And a couple of years later, when I moved to Spain, Ibiza, I had 2 more of these experiences, but I've never really had a strong visual experience like some people say that they have, and I've heard beautiful stories of people all of a sudden getting reminded by the fact that they one guy told me, yeah, I did a robbery when I was younger. I stole a painting from someone and the lady didn't want to let go, and they got into a little bit of a fight. And during his ayahuasca ceremony, he felt what the lady was feeling. So I was like, okay, that's good that you got that insight. Or he was healed. He was shown that he was carrying trauma from what his grandfather had experienced in the wartime, which was passed over to his mother onto him, which he never really thought about with his. So I've heard this experience from other people, but I've never really experienced it myself in that sense. I did start to like when I met Michelle in Mahara. She was more known to these substances and was also in reach of them. So I had my first experience where I took like these mushroom infused chocolates. Or yeah, and I was curious. I was like, yeah, well, let me try. I took one. I sat in the garden, and all of a sudden, it felt like I saw the ground breathe. It's like while I was breathing, the ground was like breathing with me. I was like, oh, I feel something, I think. And then the tree was just like, starting to breathe, and it's a beautiful garden there. And something was starting to happen. And then I went to the forest or the park, not far from there. And I started noticing it seemed like the trees were having faces, because the trip wasn't that intense. Like I have had more intense trips after that, but it was just like very slight. I felt like the trees were having faces, and I could see the characteristics and the wisdom of the trees. And they're usually older man type faces, like you see in the movie Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Yeah, those talking, how do you call them? Ents, I think, something like that. So that was my first experience trying mushrooms. After that, I've had I've tried it about 5 times after that. So that's 5 times in the last 3. No, that's not true. Maybe more, 6, 7 times. in the last 3 or 4 years. 4 years, I believe. Yeah, I started to play around with higher doses as well, not Kalindi level doses, but maybe I tried 3 chocolate ones, and this was like I was always like my own personal journey, also through following or getting information from this guy Jay Essex, the one I was talking about. He's like, if you really want to develop yourself spiritually, the best way to do it is, just using your own abilities and working on your own abilities daily, doing your daily practice, even marijuana. Like that's why I lay down marijuana. Like I've been trying to lay it down for the past 3 years, more and more. Usually, if I do get into it, it takes me a while to get off it again. Now I've been off it for about 4 months or so, and I feel pretty good. I use my crystals to meditate and to calm myself down and to get my frequencies in the right place. But because of having this knowledge that it's that you actually see clearer without any substances, when I do take it, because I'm curious and yeah, I'm curious, and I'm also open. I want to know what I'm saying yes or no to. Not to say that I'm willing to try heroin or anything like that, but this felt safe enough to experience. So once I took a dose of 3 of these chocolates, and I noticed that when I was looking at my friends, I could see things which I couldn't make up. I couldn't make up the fact that when I was looking at somebody's mouth closed, I could see the teeth through the lips, and I could see certain veins running through the faces. I was like, okay, wait. And I can stay pretty grounded when I take certain substances. Like other friends of mine, they really, they take the same dose and they're like, they just go and they're gone, and they go on their own trip because everybody's different. But I usually stay quite grounded. But there were just certain things I couldn't go around. So that was quite interesting and intriguing. And I once felt like it's like when you take mushrooms, it's like you get a look into their world and through their eyes. And like this mycelium network, as you mentioned at the beginning of the talk, it connects trees with other trees, and it's like a connective network. And I guess this field of like this spirit, once you take it in, you kind of see through it, and it allows you to see certain things or certain levels of this construct of the third dimension, which which we wouldn't be able to see without it. And it opens certain valves in your brain, which allows a lot more energy to flow through. And it's still tainted by the information of the plant itself. Like I don't believe that you would, like I tried LSD for the first time about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't really planning to take it. I was at a friend's house and he had it, and first I was like, no, I'm going home. It's okay. And he's like, he already took it. Like, just take a little bit, but a little bit was enough. So I was there all night awake, and the next day just and there's so much energy coming through, and you get to see like paintings. You start to understand the mind of the artist behind what he was doing. Even if an artist, we were looking at a book called The Universe. It's an amazing book, and within it there was some what do you call it? Some drawings of not Dali, but Picasso.
That's all.
Yeah, I think it was Picasso. It was about the universe and how stars and moons would move, but it was basically just points and stripes. And all of a sudden, it started to move like universes, you know. And
Right.
you
Right.
started to understand what he, if you would have, like, I think we have the ability to see these things as well, or to understand these things when we are just ourselves without any mind altering substances or mind opening substances. Um, but yeah, I did get another understanding and another view and experience from using that.
Mm.
Um, and it was fun. It was interesting, none the least. Um, but I'm still drawn to want to push myself also to work more on my daily meditations and my daily diving deeps within myself without substances,
Mm. Mm.
um,
Mm. Mm.
because I think that's where real power, well, real power, yeah, where you really make the, it's like when you're on a substance, you get a ride of the helicopter to the top of the mountain, and you see everything, and you see the whole view, and you can look at all the details and all the stones and all the steps from down to up. But then when you come back, you're still gonna have to make that walk up yourself. And when you do that daily practice, it's like you can, you know how these climbers, they have their tools, and
Mm.
they
Mm.
beat these pins
Mm.
into the walls, and they can hook their you know, their hook towards that on that point. I believe that's and that lasts, you know, that's that marking that you made into the to the mountain, that's something that gets stuck, and where you can pull yourself up to, even if you go down from there again, because you know it, and you also know how to get there. And that's um where I like to challenge myself to yeah, to get to these places. And it's not necessarily the most easiest way, and I don't always find the time or make the time to do my daily um, diving deep sessions
Mhm.
within myself, but if I'm honest, that's the information that I found up to this day. It did lead me to uh, yeah, uh, to that understanding. Although, like what you were sharing with me, I believe that like Egypt and how and why they built all these structures, and certain information that was passed down through some of these lodges, the Freemasons and the Moorish systems, and um, Bess and the, what are they called, the Phoenicians, and
Mhm.
I can imagine that, you know, especially in those days when technology, as we know it today, is was not so much present. If you would want to see an HD movie, you would take a mushroom, and it would be a documentary, and
Yeah.
you know, it could show you a lot of interesting things. And yeah, so I understand that these cultures were drawn towards it, and that they've put in a lot of time and effort into writing down what they recollected from these realms, and they've actually used it to maybe build structures or yeah, it is an interesting field. I think mushrooms are actually less harmful than marijuana, because you kind of can recover from it in a way more easily. While weed, maybe it's because I have a personal journey with it, personal battle with it, maybe,
Mhm.
that I feel that yeah, on my spiritual path, it's for me, the challenge lies more into trying to relax myself and calm myself down without the use of any substances. Or, you know, this is a crystal I like to use. It's called Nuumite, and it's one of the oldest crystals on the planet, all the stones on the planet, and it's known to really calm your energy down. And then to an extent where you don't just drop on the floor, but you just float above the floor a little bit, so you can still do your energetic work from there. And that's the science that I've dove into a little bit deeper, the one of of crystals and stones and minerals and what they do for us.
And that's what we're definitely next conversation is God and crystals. That's what
Okay.
gods and crystals. Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
we'll bounce some ideas around. Wicked. So thank you for sharing that, bro. And there's a lot more, you know, around psychedelics in general. So you shared your story, you know, and then I just, you know, and I want to save it for next time round, you know, because it's just we'll open it up. But you know, just things about like the current climate. You know, I know in the UK, for example, and the United States, research has opened up where psychedelic research is taking place, and you know that type of stuff. In the Netherlands, there's some stuff going on. So you're going to be kind of like my ear to the street on what's going on in the Netherlands. And you know, I don't know if you know, if you're privy, or you're getting to know, but this is what I want these exchanges to be, because as I said, through this talking shit, like stuff comes up and people are like, I didn't know that. This is, you know, that's why I don't just want to structure it, because things can just pop up that, you know, and
I know of someone I definitely want to introduce to you. I'll link you guys soon.
Nice, man. Cool. So yeah, we'll continue with psychedelics, but I just wanted to throw something in because I got a download as you were speaking about the technology, how it's used, what you've got out from it, what I was taught about the technology, how it can be used. You pulled up the crystal, you know, Kalinde well through his works, and he talks about crystal technologies and how they correspond with, you know, the entheogenic experience or the psychedelic experience. You know, and as well as how he taught me and others about how we can use the psychedelic experience or ritual to engage with and understand certain information that we might not be able to comprehend simply because it might be written in a language you don't understand. It might be, you know, delivered to us in a way that we're not, you know, able to process, you know, due to our senses or whatever, but it doesn't limit the fact that we can access the information or find out ways of interpreting it. I'm saying that to say that Kalinde, you may have heard him mention it, and you know, I'll piggyback off him and say the same thing as far as how the ancient Kemites would use or design the medunetta or the hieroglyphs in a way where, yes, they could be read and translated in numerous ways. So you could read them from left to right, up, down, you know, could be translated into other languages, but Kalinde always used to make reference to it being a DVD player. You know, the hieroglyphs being a DVD player, and that you would use the technology to read the language and understand what the language really means at a level. You know, you might know what it means when you read it in the words, but then you get other layers and levels and depth to understanding what that truly means. So, you know, he just breaks that down. So what I must say is, you know, it's something that I mentioned, and I encourage people to experiment and play, you know, as we do. And it made me think about that book that you pulled up, man, that you were saying, yeah, like I passed it to my people and they're like, look, this is just so old that we don't really get all the rest of it. And that would be like an experiment to explore using the technology, whether you can get an understanding through the technology of what, you know, what that's all about. And yeah, it just came to mind, man. Just, you know, yeah. Those words look long, man. Those words look long. When I was looking, I'm like, shit, there's some long words there. You need to know. And maybe that, for me, that wouldn't be the way that I would approach it. You know what I'm saying? And it would just be like, but they're still not blocked in understanding what that means, you know? On the words, looking at the words, and just, you know, and then under the influence.
Yeah, it's on my desk, so there must be a reason why I keep it there anyway. You know, replying on what you just mentioned of the hieroglyphs, I learned that the people from Atlantis, the sunken continent, they when the continent sunk, they were already losing a big part of their abilities. But when they were in their peak, they were very strong at telepathic communication, and it's something we all even use these days, but it's definitely weakened a lot. But when the continent sunk, a lot of them apparently went to Egypt. But when going there, they had just lost a big part of their telepathic communication systems. But in telepathy, you speak in images. You don't really speak in words. So that's why they used the hieroglyphs, because those stand closest to how they used to communicate telepathically. So I will definitely would agree that there's more written into those. Like the best way to read the hieroglyphs is to use your metaphysical eye, and there's different ways to do that, either with substances, or meditating on it strongly, or getting yourself to the point where you can understand these things.
And something that I was taught that corresponds with that was that so two things that I learned: that language and writing, although in our world today we see that as part of our evolution. We learned how to talk, we learned how to read and write and this, that and the other. By my teachers, I was taught the opposite. I was taught that was part of our decline. That was when, just similar to what you're saying, that was as and when we started to lose the ability to communicate the way we was talking. We thought, I've got to write this down for multiple reasons. I've been told over time, one, because they knew, and like the Kemetics, for example, were aware that in the future that there would be their decline, and that we would need to record and document. So let's just put it all up on the walls. And they've done it in that way, whereas we know, or we say over here, a picture paints 1,000 words.
Yeah.
So putting it in a format where, because they will still give you the impression that, the first writing's hieroglyphs, and then it evolved into this, and then it evolved into, and it's it's not based on what my teachers taught me,
likewise. I totally agree with you.
We moved away. Now you say words and you write and you don't even know what they mean. I'm saying we communicate and we say one word and it has several meanings, different meanings in different places. And that's what they talked about, the Tower of Babel and language and creating confusion, all that type of stuff. So, yes.
Even Credo Mutua has a version of that story, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not familiar, but yes, I do. I am. Yes, He talked about on the David Icke interview.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there's all that good stuff, man. And this is why I like talking shit, because shit comes up and you just never know what.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I enjoyed this type of conversations. They're open, they're free. And this guy was talking about, he has something which he calls coffee talk. He just sips his coffee and just talks, and sometimes something might pop up and you share something incredible, and other times you're just having fun together.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, bro, I really appreciate you taking out the time, spending with us, sharing with us, exchanging in the way that you do. And I really look forward to doing it again, where we can talk about crystals and a lot more, and get back into a bit about psychedelics and a bit about the bodywork practices that you facilitate and teach. You can delve more into that. So there's a lot more shit to go, to go into. So I really look forward to uncovering the Slop with you, man.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Wicked, bro.
I appreciate it.
If there's anything that you'd like to share, anything you would like to ask, anything, how people can find you, now's a good time to do that before I press end the meeting.
Only thing I would like to share, especially during these times, is try to find moments of peace. Try to find moments where you can just ground yourself and take a moment to breathe and relax, and really relax your body, your mind, and connect with yourself. That's at least what I'm trying as much as I can. Sometimes I skip a day because I can't, but I do try to remind myself, and I think that we inspire each other. Then that's how we grow as a creation, actually. Other than that, if you'd be interested in getting to know me or working with me, I have if you're based in the Netherlands, or if you happen to pass by in Amsterdam, I give massage treatments at a place called Tension Tamers. you could go to tensiontamers.nl and you'll find me there. Otherwise, follow me on any social media platform under Kuda Nemane. And you can send me a question, and yeah, we can link up.
Wicked, bro. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for doing what you do. I feel, you know, like I said to my homie yesterday, we're all growing and learning, and it's just a pleasure to witness the people around me growing as well, man. And I see you growing and becoming something amazing and special too, regardless. And yeah, just keep up the good work. Keep up the good work, man. Keep up the good work.
For sure.
I will check in with you soon, bro. Have a good day.
You too. Enjoy the sun.
Yeah, man. We'll make the most of it, man.
Definitely, definitely. Peace.